my name is Danny, and today my team and I will be discussing to what extent is globalization causing cultural convergence between modern countries. Additionally, we're speaking about the consequences of cultural convergence.
Hi, I'm Corey, and today I'm going to be discussing what globalization is. Globalization is a process by which businesses or other organisations develop international influence or start operating on an international scale.
So I'm going to be explaining what cultural convergence is. Cultural convergence occurs when multiple cultures become more like one through exposure through traditions, ideals.
So what are the positive consequences of cultural convergence? Well, first and foremost, war is much less likely. But why? Well, this is something called the democratic peace theory, and it says that democratic unions are much less likely to wage war on each other due to the fact that they want to maintain infrastructure. And this is in part due to leadership, which defaults more towards negotiation and compromise rather than violence. Secondly, digitization of media. It results in a better understanding of what's happening all around the world and can even lead to the spread of commodities like art and cooking.
Hi, my name is Karina Espinoza, and in this slide, we're going to talk about globalization tends to result in other consequences such as fueling the economy. For example, agriculture in Vietnam. During the mid-1900s, Vietnam liberalized and globalized its trade by removing the limit of rice exported by farmers. When the government eliminated the quota, the demand increased and prices increased as well, leading to higher demands and giving the farmers more of a way to get out of poverty and a better way of living. With this, the issue of culture was no longer, but instead a matter of trade and economic growth and business acumen.
Hello, my name is Lawrence, and I'm going to be talking about how music is a tool of cultural convergence. Music has been influenced by many different languages and contributed to the evolution of the English language. Originally comprised of French, German and Latin, the English language is a prime example of cultural convergence. Music, as a tool of cultural convergence, has seen genres such as rap influence the English language and also the way we communicate by using new slang terms such as twerk.
Okay, now we're talking about the positive consequences of cultural convergence by talking about Roman Warlock, who is credited for the advancement of agriculture, which saved 1 billion people from starvation. This is important because many of us would not be alive and we'll be generations behind in terms of agriculture around the world. And it's also been greatly positive to developing countries that haven't developed their own agriculture.
China keeps the value of its currency low and the workers underpaid to make sure that globalizing businesses choose to build factories and products there. While the form of globalization steers away from culture, it instead influences the economy. Rather than the business electing to save money via efficiency, the fewer man hours, these businesses employ workers to poor countries with cheap man hours, and it becomes irrelevant how long it takes.
For the global economy as a whole, low worker wages are bad. High minimum wage ensure that goods and services can be purchased, fueling the economy. Low minimum wages create a lack of demand for goods and services, leading to wide-scale unemployment. Not only this, but it creates a culture of poverty in which certain areas of the world suffer poor working conditions because it's the only opportunity for earning a wage as well.
Globalization can cause cultural convergence to a high extent. For example, South Korea. Since World War II, South Korea has opened its trade barriers with large portions to the world having 25 trade agreements effect as in 2017. One of the large agreements is from the United States and Korea Free Trade Agreement, which was signed in 2007. This has the most influence in South Korean culture, with American brands having influence in food, fashion, and music. Commercially, even South Korean culture is making its way into America with the K-pop, raw, which has been like very popularized via YouTube.
Negative consequences of cultural convergence. First example is the spread of destructive media. Games such as GTA promoting violence. The second is uprising of racial prejudices, discrimination and cultural backlash. Glamorization and the spread of racism in the media, misinformed masses causing hate speech, intolerance and inertia result in aggressive responses to a new cultural integration.
Another negative consequence of cultural convergence is the rise of unethical factories employing children for incredibly low wages, working exhausting hours in bad working conditions with little to no electricity and poor wages. Another point is not allowing a country to develop its own culture. This could cause poorer countries to be adopted by larger countries' cultures, which is a form of cultural imperialism.
So, are sweatshops a negative consequence of cultural convergence? Well, it's a controversial opinion, but one could argue that the average sweatshop doubles the prevailing wage, which therefore means that in fact it's beneficial to the economy and to each individual. Now, the alternative of which is that children slave away on farms for up to 12 hours a day and can even die as a result. And in this eventuality, they're paid much less and the economy has no growth. So, while these factories are exploitative, they're arguably a crucial phase in any country's economic growth because they support a Western standard of living. So, more developed countries not doing business with these less developed countries isn't going to develop the economy anymore, even though these children are being put through harsh conditions. That is the truth of it. So cultures being more similar may even make it easier to have higher expectations and standards, preventing this exploitation in the future, and improving the standard of living, however gradually it may be. So what are the benefits for people like the Chinese, who have many sweatshops in their country? Well, because of sweatshops, they're allowed to buy things like houses and cars, which enable them to have a global middle-class standard of living.
In conclusion, there are a few negative aspects of cultural convergence as a result of exploitation and rejection of certain cultures. An example of this could be the former USSR countries moving from communism to democracy, an example of cultural convergence. However, the acceptance of democracy has not always been welcomed or well implemented.
We as people learn to understand more about others.
Developing cultures are given a chance of economic growth, enabling many to enjoy the benefits of middle-class life.
Cultural convergence paved the way to peaceful negotiation and free agreement, partially due to globalization.
And while cultural convergence is mostly good, there's still some negative aspects due to exploitation of poorer countries, especially in countries in Asia.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.